Maren perched on the edge of her bed, gazing out at the twinkling city lights that danced beyond her window. The streets of New York thrummed with life, yet within her apartment, a stillness enveloped her like a thick fog. She had devoted years to mastering the art of navigating the void, perfecting the smile that masked the fractures, and honing the skill of feigning that the burden of her family's legacy didn't bear down on her relentlessly each day. Once Celeste, her mother, tied the knot again 5 years back, the arrival of Harlan marked a turning point in their lives, ushering in a wave of transformation. He was neither harsh nor especially warm, simply a puzzle waiting to be unraveled. He moved with a subtle confidence, his voice always steady, his emotions carefully masked behind a composed demeanor. Maren always referred to him by his name, never using the word dad. She never truly considered him part of her story. He existed in the moment, a figure embodying the truth that her mother had left behind, the shadows of yesteryears that continued to linger in Maren's mind. That evening, while she absent-mindedly traced patterns on the sheets, a gentle knock interrupted her reverie. As she cast her eyes toward the door, a thrill raced through her veins. The hour had grown late, far beyond the time for light-hearted exchanges. "Step inside," she invited, her tone steady and calm. As the door creaked open, Harlan made her entrance, stepping into the unknown. He radiated a different vibe, not in looks but in spirit. His typical assurance appeared strained, his jaw clenched more than normal. "I need to share something with you," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. Maren crossed her arms, a hint of doubt flickering in her eyes. At this moment? Isn't this something that could be saved for the morning? He paused, contemplating the moment. Absolutely. It holds significance. She observed him closely, attempting to decipher the hidden meanings, yet his face remained a mystery. With a soft exhale, she gestured to the chair beside her desk. "Gather around and take a seat." Harlan remained standing. Instead, he settled against the wall, arms folded, gaze fixed on hers. "There's a tale I've been holding back, a secret your mother never shared with you." Maren felt a tightness in her stomach. She had journeyed through her entire existence, weaving through a tapestry of half-truths and meticulously crafted family mysteries. This seemed like yet another tempest on the verge of unleashing its fury. With a hint of curiosity, she spoke. "I'm all ears." Harlan let out a breath, running his fingers through his dark hair. "In the time before your mother, before all that you know, there existed another figure in the narrative." Maren's brows furrowed in thought. "Another individual." He gave a slight nod, as if acknowledging an unspoken tale waiting to be shared. "A cherished individual in my life. A tale of someone I once knew." He took a moment, scanning her expression for any sign of a response. "And that individual had ties to you." Her breath caught in her throat. The atmosphere around them thickened, as though the very space was pausing in anticipation. "Could you clarify that for me?" she inquired, her voice soft and delicate, as if sharing a secret. Harlan's gaze became gentle. "Your dad, the one who shares your bloodline, he was more than just a figure from your mother's past. He was woven into a narrative I never imagined I would encounter once more." Maren's fingers curled tightly into fists. "Are you suggesting that you were acquainted with my father?" A deliberate, thoughtful nod. "Not merely acquainted with him, We existed. He paused, weighing his words with great thoughtfulness. Our bond transcended friendship. We shared a bond that felt like brotherhood. Marin's mind spun, struggling to comprehend the weight of his words. Her father, a figure who had lingered like a shadow throughout her existence, was inexplicably connected to Harlan. What events shaped Harlan's past? She insisted, her tone now more cutting. With a heavy sigh, Harlan's shoulders drooped, as if the weight of untold tales rested upon him. When he was gone, a piece of me vanished along with him. Maren felt a tightness in her throat as she gathered her thoughts. What about my mother? What role does she play in this narrative? His lips formed a tight, unyielding line. She connected our worlds. In the wake of your father's departure, she and I discovered comfort in one another. It wasn't the kind of love that people often dream about. It was a tale of endurance. Maren felt her heart pounding fiercely within her chest. All the beliefs she held about her family had just been flipped upside down. The man before her, the stepfather she had maintained distance from for years, was not merely a random figure who had wandered into her existence. He belonged to a rich and intricate history, one that had influenced her in ways she had yet to comprehend. What brings this to my attention at this moment? She inquired, her voice trembling slightly. Harlan gazed at her, and in that moment she caught a glimpse of the vulnerability that flickered in his eyes. Because you deserve to hear the real tale, and because I don't want to fade away like a whisper in your story. Maren felt a sudden pause in her breath. For years, she had nurtured a deep-seated animosity towards him, harboring resentment for his role in her mother's life, and by extension, her own. Yet, at that moment, uncertainty clouded her emotions. Maren remained still, the resonance of Harlan's words swirling in her mind. For years, she had carefully built barriers to keep them apart. But now, those barriers were beginning to show signs of weakness. He was more than just her stepfather. He was a piece of a history shrouded in mystery, one she had never been fully privy to. With a deep breath, she gathered her courage and began to share her thoughts. You mentioned that your bond with my father was akin to that of brothers. What could that possibly signify? Harlan breathed out slowly, his face clouded with a mix of wistfulness and longing. We shared our childhood, exploring the same streets and dreaming the same dreams. He had a way of making the ordinary seem extraordinary. We envisioned a future filled with aspirations of breaking free from all that held us back. Yet, the journey of life often takes unexpected turns. Maren's hands tightened into fists. What about my mother? She kept all of this to herself. Harlan insisted that she wouldn't. He wasn't merely the love of her life. He was her greatest vulnerability. To love him was to surrender to chaos. And your mother? Well, she's always struggled with the idea of surrender. Maren wrestled with the gravity of his words. Yet a piece of the puzzle remained elusive. What led her to choose you as a partner? Harlan gazed at her, his expression a mystery waiting to be unraveled. Grief often drives individuals to seek out what feels tangible and secure. I was not the one who held her heart, Maren. I was simply the one who remained upright. A void nestled within her heart. So you were the one left behind? His jaw clenched, a silent narrative unfolding within him. If that's the perspective you choose to embrace. Maren gently shook her head, a silent narrative unfolding in her expression. What about you? What was it that you sought after? Harlan paused, caught in a moment of uncertainty. I believed I was grasping for a sense of steadiness. I believed I could offer her something genuine, something secure. Yet ultimately, certain spirits cling on forever. Maren's breath came in quick, irregular bursts. Have you ever looked back and wished things had gone differently? He locked eyes with her. There are many things I look back on with regret. Yet the weight of not sharing the truth with you was beginning to overshadow them all. She experienced a deep sense of emotion. For years, the burden of his words lingered heavily upon her. She had thought her life was anchored in stability. In that moment, doubt crept in, leaving her to wonder if anything had ever truly existed. I'm at a loss, she confessed, her voice almost unrecognizable to her ears. You don't have to do anything, Harlan whispered gently. Understand that the narrative you received doesn't encompass the entire reality. He paused, letting out a sharp breath. I simply wanted to share this with you. Maren scanned his expression, hoping to find a glimmer of understanding, a hint of reassurance that might soften the weight of the moment. Yet, all she perceived was a man burdened by the passage of time and the consequences of countless decisions. For the first time, she found herself questioning whether he still felt like a stranger. Maren steered clear of Harlan for days, her mind ensnared in a web of thoughts she couldn't shake off. His gaze upon her that night, the gravity of his words, created a sense of unease within her. She found herself grappling with a profound unease, caught between the revelations surrounding her father and the unexpected change in Harlan's role in her life. He had transformed from merely being her mother's husband into something much more significant. He was a mystery, an enigma that eluded her understanding. When their paths intertwined once more, it was by chance. As she entered the kitchen in search of a glass of water, she was met with an unexpected sight. Him, leaning against the counter, lost in thought, gazing into the void. He turned at the sound of her voice, and for a brief moment, silence enveloped them both. I thought you were gone, she finally admitted. He confessed that he had considered it, but it just didn't sit well with him. Maren paused for a moment, then let out a deep breath. I'm unsure of how to see you now. Harlan observed her with keen interest. I always hoped you would see me just as I am. With a gentle shake of her head, she conveyed her thoughts without uttering a word. Yet, you did. A hush lingered in the air, heavy with untold tales. Maren felt a surge of frustration bubbling within her. She struggled with the change in her understanding of him as it challenged what she believed for years, that she had held on to for so many years. Yet the rage seemed insincere. In all honesty, she found herself lost in a whirlwind of emotions, unsure of what truly resided in her heart. She settled into the cozy nook of the small dining table, her fingers gliding thoughtfully along the edge, as if tracing the memories they held within its surface. Share more tales about him. Harlan drew out the chair opposite her, a silent invitation lingering in the air. Your dad. She nodded, a subtle smile gracing his lips, carrying a hint of nostalgia. He possessed a unique ability to transform every moment into a realm of endless possibilities. He held on to his beliefs, even in the absence of evidence. He often shared that life was not merely about anticipating events. It was essential to bring them to life. Maren sensed a weight building in her throat. Seems like a person whose tales I would have enjoyed hearing. Harlan's face clouded over. He would have felt a deep sense of pride in you. Her heart raced with a sudden intensity. "Do you truly believe that?" Without a moment's pause, he confidently declared his certainty. A peculiar warmth enveloped her, intertwined with sorrow for a man she had yet to meet. Yet hidden within that sorrow was another feeling, one she hesitated to identify. In the weeks that followed, the dynamics between them transformed in ways she found hard to articulate. The weight of past grievances had lifted, giving way to a gentle new feeling that felt both tender and strange. They shared tales of books, of existence, of the things they never imagined. They would exchange tales with one another. In that moment, the barriers that had long separated them crumbled away, revealing a new perspective for Marin. She looked at him not just as her stepfather, but as an individual with his own story. And that filled her with dread. On a fateful evening, as they made their way home from the grocery store, the skies opened up and drenched them in an unexpected downpour. Marin chuckled, her clothes drenched, as she shook her head at the sheer ridiculousness of the situation. Harlan observed her intently, his expression a mystery that held untold narratives. "When you laugh, there is a change in you," he remarked. She cast a fleeting look his way. "Could you clarify what you mean?" He stated it plainly. "You lowered your defenses. It fits you perfectly." There was something familiar in his tone that brought a strange mix of warmth and confusion. She averted her eyes, feigning ignorance to the way his stare held on a moment longer. Yet, she understood within her heart that their relationship had irrevocably changed. Marin found herself in a world that felt foreign, as if the narrative of her life had taken a turn she never anticipated. Each conversation with Harlan carried a quiet emotional weight. Each look carried a weight of unspoken tales she felt hesitant to confront. She convinced herself it was merely a change in viewpoint, an awareness of their connected history that altered her perception. Yet, beneath the surface, she held a deeper understanding. It transcended mere memories. It was around this time. For years, she had kept her distance, viewing him merely as her mother's partner, a figure to be overlooked. Yet, each second spent in his company now seemed to pulse with significance. Each exchange unfolded layers that neither had anticipated, revealing a richness beneath the surface. She was surprised by how easily she could finally talk to him, and part of Tia appreciated the newfound comfort. One evening, while she immersed herself in a book in the living room, Harlan entered and paused momentarily before taking a seat opposite her. He found himself lingering nearby more often, poised in anticipation of a gesture she never offered, yet never dismissed. "You seem a bit worn out," he remarked. She wore a sly grin. "That's simply the way I look." A gentle laugh slipped from his lips, and for a brief instant, everything felt effortless. But then he fell silent, his eyes drifting thoughtfully. Marin, the way he uttered her name, sent a delightful tremor through her. She shut her book, compelling herself to look into his eyes. "What do you mean?" "I want to keep things normal between us," he said, "but I'm not sure how to make that happen." She let out a deep breath, her fingers resting gently on her temple. "Neither do I." A quiet lingered in the air, heavy with the weight of unspoken thoughts. In a moment of impulsive curiosity, she blurted out the question, "Do you love my mother?" Harlan's expression danced with an enigmatic quality. He held his gaze steady. "She holds a special place in my heart." "That's not what I was looking for." His jaw clenched, a silent narrative unfolding within him. No, not in the manner she truly merits. Maren sensed a change within her, a feeling she had been attempting to overlook for weeks. So, what brings you to this moment? He brushed his fingers across his face, letting out a sharp breath, because departing would seem like yet another untruth. Her heart raced with anticipation, and remaining, he leaned in, his elbows propped on his knees, ready to share what was on his mind. Staying meant facing emotions that were difficult to process. She paused, a moment suspended in time. The atmosphere surrounding them was thick, pulsating with an energy that both frightened and exhilarated her. She rose, suddenly, craving distance, yearning for a breath of fresh air. Yet Harlan pursued her, positioning himself in her path before she had the chance to turn and leave. "This was never my desire," he murmured softly. "This took me by surprise." Maren took a deep breath. "So, what exactly is this?" He paused and gently placed a hand on her shoulder to offer reassurance. "There are certain things that remain beyond my control." She shut her eyes for a moment, hoping to find some clarity. Yet it eluded her completely. She felt overwhelmed, unsure of what direction her thoughts were leading her. She withdrew. "I must take my leave now." Harlan let her continue on her path. He simply nodded, an unspoken connection flowing between them. Maren found herself adrift, unaware of her destination, yet driven by an urgent need to flee from what loomed ahead. Yet, beneath the surface, she was aware of the reality. This was an inescapable truth, and for the first time she found herself hesitating.